What's up, everybody? Coach Dalton here with another episode of Litflix, and this one is going to be all about parenthetical and in-text citation. Real exciting stuff, but a necessary lesson in order for you to write your research paper coming up. All right, so the first thing we need to talk about is why you have to cite. The entire point is to avoid plagiarism. All right. Plagiarism here at North Gwinnett as a junior and senior can get you suspended, and in college it can actually get you kicked out of school or put on academic probation. So sadly, most of the plagiarism happens by accident because students do not cite their sources correctly. So you want to make sure you pay attention and remind yourself the correct ways of doing this. All right. So, parenthetical in-text citation is whenever you are referring to the work of others, which I'm telling you, that is what you have to do in order to do well in this paper. I want to know what the experts think, okay? Because you are not going to know everything about the topic you choose. That's the entire basis of research, all right? So, you're taking relevant source information, either a direct quote or a paraphrase, and you are sticking it into your own sentence, all right? And then remember, you have to include the actual citation at the end. All right, there are three types of parenthetical citation. Direct quote, all right, around the quotes around the words, and you basically copy paste exactly what the author says. Paraphrase, okay, so rewording what an author has written, or summarizing. This will probably come from larger sources, okay, maybe a book, maybe a podcast would be a summary, all right, and then you're taking the ideas from that larger source and putting it into your own words. All three of these will need a citation afterwards. All right, first thing about direct quotes, again, it's a direct copying of the author's or the source's wording, which again is fine. All right, if the author said something and you're like, no way I can say it better, then that's when you should use it and cite this source. Summarizing, all right, taking ideas from a large source and condensing them. Again, you might be using ideas from a podcast or maybe a documentary for yours, in which case you would want to summarize ideas from it, right? But you must document the summarized piece. And the last one is a paraphrase. This means to reword what an author has written, all right? So just rewording one idea or one or two sentences. You change the phrasing into your own words, but the ideas are the same, all right? But it doesn't change the author's meaning. And again, it's not your original idea, so you need to document it. All right, how can you effectively incorporate quotes? All right, very, very important. Never begin or end a paragraph with a parenthetical reference. Okay, so you can't end a paragraph with a quote. You have to have the explanation behind. All right, if you remember race from last year, this is a similar idea. All right. But we want you to introduce the quote. Okay, so you have to have some of your own words, all right? And then you use the quote, and then afterwards you have to explain the quote, all right? So this isn't race per se. This is for to cover your entire citation, all right? So you have to have an introduction into the quote. A quote cannot stand by itself, all right? We want to avoid long quotes. At this point, it's too much of the other person's words and not enough of your own, okay? Now, if you are going to use a quote that's over 4 lines, you're going to need to go to Purdue OWL and look at how to block quote. But I'm not going to go over that because I don't want you to do that, all right? If a quote is that long, you should be summarizing it. All right, here are 2 examples. We have an example of a direct quote, all right, and a paraphrase. All right, so we have our introduction here. A source promoting vegetarianism states. Now you're either going to need a comma or not need a comma depending on this word. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to that. And then we have our source at the end. Remember, the period goes outside. Okay, and then our paraphrase or our summary is the same, except there are no quotation marks around the words because you put it in your own words, okay? But we still have our source at the end, which is PETA, with our period on the outside, all right? Okay, last thing is your works cited page. You've done this multiple times. If you want to use Scribble to do this or the Google tools, that's going to be the best way to do it. All right, and that's going to be required next semester. So you're not going to need it this semester, but you're going to want to keep up with it. All right, it's going to be a list of all the sources that you end up using. So for right now, again, this semester, you don't need this. All right, but here's a works cited sample. Again, I will do more, another lesson on this next semester, but remember things like it's in alphabetical order, you have a hanging indentation, and there's a title of just works cited. All right, where can you go for additional help with documentation? You can use scribble.com. You used that the last 2 years. I'm not requiring you to use it for online, but if you would like to, you can. We have MLA citations. This PowerPoint is available on our Google Classroom page. And then again, how to block quote, you can go to Purdue Owl. All right. So this week, you're going to be saving and citing 5 sources. All right. And then you're also going to be including 2 chosen quotes or pieces of information from that. All right. So be sure to get that done on time. It's a required piece in order to do well. And again, this entire PowerPoint is available if you would like to go back and look at it. Have a great week. Talk to y'all soon.